Elliot, you got strength questions and I've got your answers. Today we got a question from Saladon89 from New York. Saladon wants to know, yo Elliot, how can I do more push-ups?
Hey, we got an interesting question from our buddy Bane391. Basically, he doesn't have very much time to be in the gym and he's wondering, what is the best bang for my buck?
All right, let's talk about a figure who represents one of the most fascinating and perplexing arcs in the modern fitness and wellness world. In the late 2000s and early 2000s, a new kind of fitness guru emerged on YouTube. He wasn't just a bodybuilder or a cardio instructor. He was a philosopher of strength, a motivational speaker with the physique of a Greco-Roman statue. His name was Elliot Hulse, and for a generation of young men seeking more than just a workout plan, he became a cult-like figure. From the gritty floor of his garage gym, Strength Camp, he preached a gospel of raw power, primal movement, and masculine identity. He built a multi-million-dollar empire, selling not just exercise programs, but a lifestyle, a mindset. And then, something shifted. The messages about deadlifts and discipline began to intertwine with, and then be overtaken by, esoteric discussions of prana, kundalini awakenings, and extreme breathwork practices. To many of his longtime followers, the guru of grounded strength seemed to be floating away into the ether. This is the story of that transformation. Not a tale of simple success and failure, but a complex case study in the evolution of a public persona, the volatile intersection of fitness and spirituality, and the risks of building an empire on the foundation of a single, evolving self. To understand the empire, you have to go back to the beginning, to the raw, magnetic appeal of early Elliot Hulse. In an era of glossy commercial gyms and sanitized personal training, Hulse was a throwback. His videos were shot in his unadorned Florida garage, filled with homemade equipment, kettlebells, and sandbags. He looked the part. A thick, powerful 250-pound frame, a shaved head, and an intense gaze. But it was his message that resonated. He spoke about becoming strong as fuck, not just for aesthetics, but as a moral imperative. Strength was a solution to weakness, fear, and anxiety. He blended basic, heavy compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, presses, with unconventional primal movements, like crawling, carrying heavy objects, and swinging sledgehammers. This functional strength made it visceral and exciting. His audience, largely young men, weren't just getting workout tips, they were getting a philosophy. Hulse talked about fatherhood, responsibility, overcoming adversity, and rejecting the soy boy culture he perceived as emasculating. He created a tribe, the Hulse's House, that offered a sense of belonging and purpose. The business model was brilliantly simple and direct. The massive, free YouTube channel, which grew to millions of subscribers, was the funnel. It built unparalleled trust and authority. Viewers, hungry for the identity he sold, would then pay for his digital products. The Strength Camp, workout programs, nutritional guides, and later, high-ticket online coaching and mentorship programs. At its peak, this ecosystem was reportedly generating over $3 million annually. It was a pure, content-driven digital empire, built on a powerful, cohesive brand. Elliot Hulse equals strength. However, within this very success lay the seeds of its evolution, and to some, its unraveling. The first thing to understand is that Hulse was never just a strength coach. From the beginning, his content was laced with philosophical musings, references to Carl Jung, and explorations of mindset. As his platform grew, so did his scope. He began to explore topics beyond the barbell: breathwork, cold exposure, traditional Chinese medicine, and Eastern spirituality. Initially, this was framed as biohacking or optimization, ways to boost testosterone, recovery, and mental clarity to become even stronger. But a gradual but perceptible shift occurred. The tools, breathwork, meditation, began to become the ends in themselves, rather than means to physical strength. His content started featuring longer monologues about energy, vibrations, and shadow work. His physical appearance changed. He lost a significant amount of muscle mass, which he attributed to a purer, more authentic state of being. For his core audience, who had signed up for the strong as fuck mantra, this was confusing, then alienating. The strong, grounded father figure seemed to be morphing into a new age mystic. The brand, once razor sharp, was becoming blurred. The central point of the divergence, and the thing that most confounded his followers, was his deepening dive into intense, often esoteric breathwork practices. Hulse began promoting and practicing methods like holotropic breathwork, rebirthing, and various pranayama techniques to an extreme degree. His videos showed him engaging in sessions that would lead to hyperventilation, tetany, involuntary muscle contractions, and profound altered states of consciousness. He described these experiences in spiritual terms, releasing trauma, connecting with divine energy, achieving non-dual awareness. To the wellness community, this was a brave exploration of consciousness. To his original base, it looked like a man having a public nervous breakdown. The language of weakness and strength was replaced with language of dissolution and oneness. The problem wasn't the exploration of breathwork itself. Many practices have proven benefits for stress and anxiety. The problem was the perceived extremism and the stark contrast with his founding identity. The empire was built on selling certainty. Do these lifts, eat this way, become strong? The new message was about surrendering control, dissolving the ego, and chasing transcendent experiences that were impossible to quantify or package into a simple program. It was a brand catastrophe. The business consequences were inevitable. As his content shifted, his YouTube metrics told the story. Views on his new esoteric content dropped significantly compared to his classic strength videos. The comment sections became battlegrounds between loyal spiritual followers and disillusioned fitness fans, accusing him of losing his mind. The cohesive funnel from viewer to customer broke down. A person looking for a deadlift tutorial is not the same person willing to pay for a breathwork-induced spiritual awakening. His core product, strength coaching, became incongruent with his public persona. Reports and anecdotes from within the online fitness community suggested his revenue streams dried up. The $3 million empire, dependent on a clear, consistent brand message, couldn't pivot fast enough to a completely new audience. He wasn't just changing his content, he was alienating his customer base. So, how do we analyze this arc? It's too simplistic to say he lost his mind. A more nuanced view is that Elliot Hulse is a quintessential example of a public figure on a personal quest, with their livelihood tragically tied to their personal evolution. His journey from strength to spirituality is likely authentic to him. The issue was the context. He built a massive commercial platform where his personal identity was the product. When that identity evolved radically, the product became unrecognizable to its market. He failed to manage the transition, either by gradually bridging his communities or by strategically rebranding under a new umbrella. Furthermore, his story highlights the dangers of the guru model. When followers invest not just in your advice, but in your persona as a source of truth, any fundamental change you undergo is seen as a betrayal or a collapse. Hulse's shift exposed the fragility of building an empire on a cult of personality. His search for meaning, while personally valid, dismantled the very archetype that made him famous and wealthy. The arc of Elliot Hulse isn't just a story about a fitness YouTuber who changed his content. It's a deeper, more resonant story about the search for identity in the digital age, the inherent conflict between personal growth and brand consistency, and the psychological burden of being a thought leader to a massive, demanding audience. To fully grasp his journey, we need to look beyond the surface-level shift from weights to breathwork and examine the underlying philosophical currents that were always present, and how the pressure of his own platform amplified them to a breaking point. From the very beginning, Hulse's strength philosophy was never purely physical. It was deeply psychological and archetypal. He didn't just teach the squat. He taught the squat as a ritual for cultivating discipline, confronting fear, and building a backbone of character. His frequent references to mythology, Joseph Campbell, and Carl Jung's shadow work reveal a mind searching for meaning through metaphor and symbol. The barbell was a modern-day stand-in for the hero's journey, a tool for self-overcoming. This intellectual depth is what set him apart and built a fiercely loyal following. However, this also set the stage for his evolution. A mind that views lifting as a psychological and spiritual act is a mind primed to eventually seek the spirit without the lift. The physical training was for Hulse always a form of moving meditation, a way to quiet the mind and access a state of flow. His later breathwork practices were a logical, if radical, extension of this search, an attempt to achieve those transcendent, focused states without the intermediary of physical exhaustion. He was chasing the same feeling, clarity, power, presence, but through the direct manipulation of his nervous system instead of through the proxy of muscular fatigue. The goal was consistent. The methodology underwent a revolution. This leads to the critical, often overlooked role of pain and embodiment. Hulse's early brand was built on embracing physical pain, the burn of a workout, the struggle of a heavy lift, as a crucible for growth. He framed this as getting comfortable being uncomfortable, a vital life skill. His foray into extreme breathwork can be seen as an attempt to apply this same principle to the internal and emotional self. Practices like holotropic breathwork are designed to induce intense, often cathartic, emotional releases, to bring subconscious trauma, the shadow, to the surface. In a sense, Hulse switched from seeking pain in the gym to cleanse the body, to seeking psychological pain in a breathwork session to cleanse the mind. The audience that signed up for the former was not prepared for the latter. Physical pain in pursuit of a bigger bench press is comprehensible and goal-oriented. Psychological pain in pursuit of a nebulous awakening is terrifying and alien. He misjudged his audience's willingness to follow him into that inner abyss. The business model itself became a trap. The guru economy on YouTube incentivizes certainty and systemization. Success comes from packaging a complex problem, confusion, weakness, lack of purpose, into a digestible, purchasable solution. Buy my 12-week strength camp program. Hulse was masterful at this. He created a clear map. Follow these steps, and you will arrive at the destination of strength. However, genuine spiritual or deep psychological exploration is inherently nonlinear, uncertain, and impossible to systematize for mass consumption. There is no 12-week program to enlightenment. As Hulse's personal journey led him into these ambiguous waters, his content necessarily became less about providing answers and more about sharing his messy, ongoing questions. This violates the unspoken contract of the guru-follower relationship. Followers pay for guidance out of the jungle. They don't pay to watch the guide wander deeper into it, muttering about the beautiful, strange plants. His shift from selling a system to documenting a process was commercial suicide within his established framework. The revenue streams that fed his empire depended on him being the expert with the map, not the fellow traveler who had lost the path. We also must consider the immense psychological isolation of the online influencer. Hulse built a community, but as the leader, he occupied a lonely throne. Who coaches the coach? Who guides the guru? His platform became an echo chamber, whereas every thought, no matter how half-formed or experimental, was amplified to millions and met with either fanatical agreement or hostile criticism. This feedback loop can distort reality. Normal exploratory thoughts in a private journal become public pronouncements. The pressure to constantly produce profound, boundary-pushing content likely accelerated and radicalized his explorations. What might have been a quiet, private midlife spiritual inquiry became a public performative spectacle because his business was his personal brand. There was no off-ramp, no way to step back and explore privately. His search for authenticity became his most public and most commercially hazardous performance. Finally, his story reflects a broader cultural moment, the crisis and reconstruction of masculinity. Hulse's early work powerfully channeled a widespread confusion among young men about what it means to be a man in the 21st century. He offered a seemingly timeless, physical, and honorable ideal. His later work can be interpreted as an attempt to answer that same question from a completely different angle. That true masculinity isn't about external dominance, but about internal integration, emotional resilience, and spiritual connection. He was trying to solve the same problem, but arrived at an answer that invalidated his earlier popular solution. To his original followers, this felt like a betrayal. They came for a warrior archetype and were presented with a shaman archetype instead. The two can coexist, but the transition from one to the other, when you've built a multi-million-dollar brand on the former, is a fraught and nearly impossible pivot. In conclusion, Elliot Hulse did not merely lose his mind to breathwork. He embarked on a sincere, intense, and profoundly personal journey of self-discovery. The tragedy of his business decline is that this journey was lived out on the same public platform that funded his life. The very traits that made him a successful entrepreneur, depth, curiosity, a willingness to challenge norms, ultimately dismantled the brand he built. He is a case study in the limits of building a commodified self. When the self evolves, the commodity becomes obsolete. His legacy is a complex one, a pioneer in blending strength training with philosophical discourse, who then demonstrated the peril of following that discourse to its logical and commercially untenable conclusion. He sought to build the strongest version of a man, and in the process, discovered that the foundation of that man was not made of muscle, but of questions. Questions that, once asked publicly, can unravel an empire. In the end, the story of Elliot Hulse is a modern parable. It's about the collision between commerce and authenticity, between the audience you have and the person you're becoming. He rose by selling a powerful, simplified version of masculine transformation. He declined not necessarily because he was wrong, but because his own transformation outpaced and contradicted the one he sold. He sought enlightenment, but in the process, he turned out the lights on the empire he built. His legacy is a divided one. To some, a pioneer who bravely explored beyond physical limits. To others, a cautionary tale of a strength coach who, in seeking a higher breath, lost his solid ground.